Peace and blessings, everyone. Welcome, welcome, welcome. I had a little bit of technical issues before we got on, but just to make sure that we're all on the same page, if you can hear me clearly and you can see me clearly, just put a one inside of the chat. That way we could dive right into the curriculum and get started with day 2 of the Healing Fast Challenge. So if you can hear me, you can see me, just put a one inside and we're gonna go ahead and get ourselves going. So hopefully everyone's having a good day today. And we're gonna start off tonight's session with a quick recap of the few things that we broke down in yesterday's class. So yesterday we went through the ins and outs of understanding where we're at in this journey of getting to the root cause of our blood pressure issues, where we're at part 3, which is the Healing Fast journey, the Healing Fast Challenge rather. So we went through the fruit and salad challenge, we went through the pressure purge challenge, now we're here with the Healing Fast challenge. And now I want to talk a little bit about the strategies that we discussed yesterday as a recap, and then we're going to go ahead and get into our 7-day Healing Fast ebook. So if you have your 7-day Healing Fast Challenge ebook and you have a second device, feel free to pull it up and I'll let you know where we're at and where I'll be reading from. So quick recap. We talked about several things yesterday as well, but we talked about, most importantly, the 3 strategies, or the 4 strategies rather, when it comes down to applying fasting for healing to correct your blood pressure issues. The first strategy was starting off with a simple 12-hour fast. And this is a fast that I suggest that everyone should be partaking in, no matter what level of health that they have. A simple 12-hour fast brings balance to your eating and fasting window. You have 12 hours of eating, 12 hours of fasting. This allows your body to stay balanced with the time it needs to cleanse itself and out with the old, in with the new, basically. So we talked about the 12-hour fasting. The second one was the intermittent fasting. And intermittent fasting being the 16-8 strategy, which is an entry-level fast that's pretty much doable for anyone dealing with blood pressure, blood sugar issues, on multiple medications. Intermittent fasting is something that you can start off with. I like to call it the entry level, or basically a beginner style fast. Second, we're gonna go with the alternate day fasting. We talked about how alternate day fasting is basically what it sounds like. You eat one day, you fast the next day, eat the following day, fast the next one, just alternating days between eating and fasting. We talked about how to apply that strategy and who that was best for. And lastly, we spoke about water only fasting, which is more of an extended fast, at least 72 hours and longer, and talking about the effects that it has on the body as a whole. So today, we're going to get more into the actual science of fasting. That way we can understand those processes that are taking place. That way, as we're moving forward and applying fasting as a strategy, we can actually understand what's going on in our bodies and how it directly relates to our blood pressure and helping us get to the root cause of it. So throughout today, I'm going to break down the science of fasting. Then I also have some books that I want to go over with you guys for those individuals that want to get deeper into fasting and pretty much master the art of it and learn the ins and out of it and what it can do for your overall health. So we're going to talk about these books that I have here in just a few. But now, if you have your book, or your ebook rather, we're going to go right back to where we left off yesterday, which was autophagy. And we're going to talk about autophagy deeper. We're going to get into ketosis, talk about autolysis, and tie all these things together. Now, there's more things that goes on during the process of fasting, but these by far are 3 of the biggest. And when you understand these things, understand the symptoms and what to expect during the fasting process, this really gets you going and helps you reach your end goal. And when it comes down to applying fasting strategy. So we're going to the autophagy page. And I'm going to just pretty much pick up and read where we left off at and tie everything together. So if you have any questions, feel free to drop them inside of the chat. That way when we get to the Q&A section, I could go ahead and answer those. We had a lot of questions yesterday that I didn't get to because we pretty much were over time. We went like an hour and some change. I really like to keep them to a nice tight hour. So if you have any questions, please drop them in. That way I can make sure that the Q&A session is a little bit longer this time. That way I can get through them. So we're back at autophagy. So autophagy is a cellular renewal process, and it's defined as this. It's a Greek word It's a Greek word meaning self-eating, and it's a cellular process where the body breaks down and recycles damaged or dysfunctional proteins and organelles. It's like a cleaning crew for your cells, removing waste and making room for new healthy components. When nutrients are scarce, such as during fasting, cells activate autophagy. Damaged proteins and organelles are enclosed in a structure called autophag. I always butcher this word. Autophagones, autophagones, which then fuses with lysosomes and enzymes-filled compartments that digest the contents. The resulting molecules are recycled to build new cellular components. So the main things you want to understand about autophagy is the process that's actually happening. Number one is the reducing of inflammation. Number two, improved endothelial function. Number three, metabolic efficiency. So we're going to start with the reducing inflammation. And we talked about this quite a bit yesterday, but understanding when you're dealing with blood pressure issues, there's a low level inflammation that's occurring inside of the body, and it comes from many different areas, but the main place that it's impacting is your endothelial cells. And the endothelial cells, again, they're responsible for producing the nitric oxide to help the blood vessels dilate. They're also responsible for keeping it nice and smooth so the blood can flow through. So if you want to get more details about the endothelium system, please go back to day one, because I'm not going to go back into it too deeply, because that it pretty much be repeating myself based off of what we went through. But understanding that this inflammation is largely being caused by the free radicals that are floating around through the bloodstream. And free radicals, they're pretty much producing oxidative stress. Well, they are producing the oxidative stress that's causing the inflammation. And this oxidative stress is basically destroying these endothelial cells. Now, what fasting does is, it allows for your body to create the conditions to heal. And now these old damaged cells that are not able to function at their highest level, now they're able to go through the repairing, the destruction, the repairing, and the rejuvenation process. So these old damaged cells are broken down, destroyed, and recycled, and now those recycled components are put together to create this new cell to take their places. And basically that's what the process of autophagy is when it comes down to fasting. So reducing inflammation. Chronic inflammation is a contributing factor to high blood pressure. Autophagy reduces inflammation by clearing away damaged components that might otherwise trigger an immune response. Number two, endothelial dysfunction. The endothelium is the inner lining of the blood vessels. Proper endothelial function is vital for blood pressure regulation. Autophagy supports endothelial health by removing dysfunctional cellular parts, promoting better blood vessel relaxation and constriction. And again, the endothelium system is the protector of your cardiovascular system. And when you're dealing with blood pressure issues, this largely means that your endothelium system is compromised. And in order to correct your blood pressure issues, you have to rebuild this endothelium system. And this is going to be how you get to the root cause of the problem. Number three, enhancing metabolic efficiency. High blood pressure is often linked to metabolic disorders like obesity and insulin resistance. Autophagy improves metabolic efficiency by recycling cellular components, supporting overall energy balance, and potentially aiding in weight loss. And one of these things that I think one thing that's really, really important when it comes down to metabolic efficiency is this. If you're dealing with any weight issue, let's say if you're 10, 20, 30 pounds overweight, simply losing 5 or 10 pounds can give you drastic results when it comes down to managing your blood pressure. Because you have to understand that you holding on to excess weight, this causes this adds to the stress on your body. And what happens is this excess weight, this excess fat that you're holding on to, this is a part of you. And now your body has to not only nourish and feed the excess fat that you're holding on to, but it also has to remove the waste products that come from this excess fat. So your body has to create more blood vessels and more blood vessels to nourish and remove the components that are coming from this fat. And now this puts added stress and added pressure on your heart. So now you got more blood vessels through this bigger, larger cardiovascular system. And now your heart has to pump harder to get the blood all the way through to this excess fat. So now understanding by simply losing 5 or 10 pounds, your body gets rid of this excess fat and those excess blood vessels. And now your cardiovascular system begins to shrink, and this takes the pressure off of the heart. But understanding that for each for each extra pound of fat that you're holding on to, your body has to produce almost a mile worth of blood vessels in order to nourish it and remove any toxins that it may be producing. So losing weight is a big component of correcting your blood pressure issues. Losing 5 or 10 pounds, it can be really profound with correcting your blood pressure. And one thing we have to understand is this as well, that excess weight is causing your blood vessels to lengthen. And what I mean by lengthen, they're stretching out. It's like a rubber band or a resistance band. You take this resistance band, and when you add pressure or resistance to it, this band stretches and becomes tighter, and your blood vessels respond in the same way to any excess weight that you're holding on to. The blood vessels start to lengthen and become tighter, and what happens is that diameter where the blood is supposed to flow through, it becomes a lot narrower and a lot more tighter, and this causes them to become stiff, and the blood is not able to flow through smoothly, and the heart has to continue to pump harder. But when you lose 5 or 10 pounds, this resistance and the stretching that happens, it tends to loosen up, and those blood vessels start to regain their elasticity back, and this helps when it comes down to the blood flow. So understanding losing weight is a big part of it. Now, not everyone is dealing with a weight issue relating to their blood pressure, but if you are dealing with a weight issue, this is something that you should really understand. 5 or 10 pounds, this can show you some really great results when it comes down to your blood pressure, and it's going to continue to help you get to where you need to be. A little bit about my journey as well. When I was 248 pounds, my approach to this thing was like, I was just going to try to go to the gym and get things done and just kind of work out and figure it out from there. But understanding going to the gym at 248 pounds, being out of shape, and not being in shape, my body wasn't in a position to do the things that I needed to do to help me lose weight down that path. So understanding that fasting is something that you can apply that's going to help you on this journey and eventually get you to where you need to be to get in the gym or start walking more and creating more movement for yourself. I went to the gym at 248 pounds. The first 2 days were a nightmare. My body ached in every corner. My shoulders, my knees, my back, everything hurt. And there was no way I can get back into the gym again to try and figure it out. So I knew at this point, something's got to give. I need to find another strategy. So understanding that at this point, if you're dealing with weight issues, the gym might not be the best starting point. I'm not saying don't work out. So maybe finding out, maybe walking and doing something that's more gentle, but applying those nutritional strategies as well as applying a fasting strategy, this will help you get to where you need to be. I went from being 248 to 240 to ultimately down to somewhere around 220. And then I started feeling better and then looking better, and my motivation and my abilities in the gym increased, and this allowed for me to continue to compound and get better in this particular area. So understanding that fasting is a strategy that you can apply, and when it comes down to weight loss, as long as you're on this journey and you're living a health promoting lifestyle, this will all align with you reaching the goals that you need to reach when it comes down to your weight and your blood pressure. Number 4, protecting against atherosclerosis. Atherosclerosis is the buildup of fatty deposits in the arteries, which can lead to high blood pressure. Autophagy helps prevent this by clearing away the cellular debris that might contribute to plaque formation. So understanding if you're dealing with cholesterol issues, stiff arteries, and your blood pressure, your doctor broke these things down to you, and you understand that this is a problem, fasting is something that hits in all these different areas. Again, this isn't something that just affects your blood pressure. It affects your body as a whole. It's your body's oldest cleansing and healing process. It's a natural cycle that your body goes through, and understanding how to apply these strategies will help you when it comes down to your blood pressure, your blood sugar levels, your cholesterol levels, your weight. All these things are all tied in together when it comes down to healing. So now we're going to get into autolysis. Autolysis, from the Greek word of self and loosening, is a process where cells break down their own components. Unlike autophagy, where the cells actually digest damaged parts, autolysis is more passive, allowing enzymes within the cells to break down its contents. Autolysis occurs when enzymes called lysosomes rupture within the cells, releasing digestive enzymes that begin to break down cellular components. This can happen during fasting or other states where the body is conserving energy and resources. So these are all different things that are occurring again during the fasting process. And one thing that we're going to get into as well is understanding the symptoms of fasting and knowing how to navigate through the symptoms to reach your end goal. Because a lot of times when we're applying a fasting strategy, we might start to feel the discomforts from it. Maybe the headaches, the nausea, some body aches, some cramping and things like that. And when you don't understand the symptoms, a lot of times we kind of just, you're like, oh wow, this is too much for me. Maybe I need to break the fast because, you know, I don't like this headache feeling that I'm feeling, or I'm not feeling these, you know, these other symptoms. They're disrupting my day. But understanding how to apply the fast and how to maneuver through the symptoms is very, very important, especially if you're a beginner faster and you're trying to get pretty much build your strategies and build a platform for you to move forward on. Understanding these symptoms is going to be really important, and a lot of these symptoms are triggered once the fast is going, and it's a healing process. Because one thing you should understand is that when you're fasting, your body is breaking down those internal storages that you're holding on to, and when your body begins to break these storages down, not only are the nutritional storages released, but the toxins are released as well, and they can be triggering in many different ways. So the connection to high blood pressure for autolysis: clearing damaged cells. Autolysis helps in clearing out damaged cells or dead cells, particularly in the tissues that may be inflamed or injured. By removing these cells, it can reduce inflammation, a key factor in high blood pressure. So all those old damaged cells that the autophagy is breaking down, autolysis is the process of getting rid of those things out of the body, and they have to go somewhere. So when they get broken down, they enter into the bloodstream to be excreted through your normal processes of elimination. And now, as they travel through the body, this is where the discomfort starts to come in, the nausea and the headaches and things, because now you have these toxins, these just floating through the bloodstream, and they're making their way out. And the thing about it is, a lot of these symptoms, they come and they go. They come in waves depending on how long you're fasting. For most people, most of these symptoms don't last any more than an hour. They usually go 30 minutes to an hour and they pass through. The biggest thing you could do is simply keep yourself hydrated, and most importantly, remember the reason why you're fasting or why you're doing these things. Because if your why is big enough, such as my reason is trying to get off of blood pressure medications and get control of my overall health, this reason is a lot bigger than just thrown in the towel because of a headache. So understanding how to apply it, understand how to navigate it is going to be important. Number 2, enhancing tissue repair. By breaking down damaged cellular components, autolysis makes way for new healthy cells to replace them. This can lead to improved tissue function, including in the blood vessels, which is vital for maintaining healthy blood pressure. And this goes back to those endothelial cells that may be damaged and not producing the nitric oxide. Autolysis opens the door for those new cells and those new components to fit right in, take the position of those old cells, and start doing the job that needs to be done. Number 3, supporting detoxification. Autolysis aids in the body's natural detoxification process. By breaking down and removing cellular waste, it supports the overall health of organs like the liver and the kidneys, which play a crucial role in blood pressure regulation. Number 4, complementing autophagy. Autolysis often works in tandem with autophagy, another self-cleaning process with the cells. Together, they contribute to cellular renewal and rejuvenation, supporting overall cardiovascular health. And next, we're going to go into ketosis, but I'm going to take some time to answer any questions. That way, I can actually get your questions through, because yesterday I didn't do a great job with questions. So if you got any questions, feel free to drop them in. Let's continue to tie them in together. So see a couple good evenings. Definitely appreciate you guys for coming in. The 12 to 12 is good for me. Yeah, that's a great starting place. Remember, it's all about gradually getting better, gradual progression. You don't want to just plateau there, because your body's going to get used to it. And understanding, the more you challenge your body, the more your body's going to respond to the strategies that you're applying. Here we go. I'm currently fasting. I'm using the intermittent fast, 6 p.m. to 12 p.m. That's a great strategy right there. I'm sure over the course of a couple days, a week, you're going to see some really great results when it comes down to not just your blood pressure, but your overall health. Miss Trish Jordan say 16/8 fasting, and she's enjoying it. Great, also. bought yourself some distilled water. Yep, that's the right way to go. I need to lose 100 pounds. Awesome, that's a great strategy. Now, the thing is, understanding that, okay, I'm glad you mentioned this. Now, when it comes down to weight loss, this is one thing that you have to understand. Having this goal of losing 100 pounds, that's amazing. That's the first thing you should have. Have this really, really big goal. Because when you set this big goal, now, in order to accomplish that goal, you set the ceiling so high. Now, this allows you to focus on specific things that are going to allow you to get there. Now, doing the things you've been doing every day, trying to lose weight, it's not going to get you to that 100-pound weight loss goal. So now you have to understand, all right, my goal is to lose 100 pounds. I have this big goal. Now, what do I need to do that's going to help me get there? And now this is where you laser in on those specific strategies that are going to help you reach that goal. So, you know, doing diet, like jumping diet to diet and trying these different fads, those aren't going to help you get there. Things like fasting is something that can align with that type of goal. And this is where the progression process goes of learning and understanding that fast. So maybe if you're beginner fasting, you want to start off with a 12-12 just to see how it feels and get accustomed to it, but gradually progressing and getting better. My weight loss journey, I lost 80 pounds and this happened in 8 months. And my strategy went from intermittent fasting, I moved to 3-day water only fasting once per month. And then eventually I did alternate day fasting as well. And all these things combined together to ultimately allow me to lose 80 pounds, correct my blood pressure issues, correct my blood sugar issues. And pretty much I've been able to sustain those same results since doing so. Hold that thought real quick. I've been able to sustain those same results through this process. And I keep this picture here framed just like this, and it sits right over here on the shelf. But this is me at 248 pounds, blood pressure 145/93, been as high as 180/110, and me going through all those health complications. And a fasting strategy was one of the things I applied to help me get there. So understanding losing 80 pounds, I'm losing 100 pounds may seem like something that's crazy and you only see it on TV, but it's very, very doable with the right strategies. And aiming high and focusing in on those strategies that are going to allow you to get in alignment with that is going to be really, really key through this process. And again, gradually progressing is going to be really an important piece. Is it possible to get your recipe? I'm not sure which recipe you're looking for, but if you comment the recipe that you're looking for, I can make sure I post it inside of the group. My doctor said he doesn't know what a RBC mineral test is and don't know how to order it. So for the individuals that are looking for the red blood cell mineral test, I have this conversation quite often. So a red blood cell RBC test, a red blood cell mineral test is a test where they test these cells to see how they're actually utilizing the minerals that are involved in the process of regulating blood pressure, the potassium, the magnesium, you know, all those minerals. Now the thing is, a red blood cell mineral test and a standard blood pressure, a standard blood test is two totally different things. The standard blood test tests the actual, the serum, and the red blood cell mineral test tests the actual cells. And what happens is, the red blood cell mineral test is a lot more sensitive and it gives you better data on how the cells are actually utilizing the minerals that are needed to regulate the blood pressure. Now, most doctors, most physicians, they're not familiar with this type of test because this isn't a test that they use. Usually, maybe cardiologists use these particular tests a lot more often and can be a lot better familiar with it. Whereas your standard practitioner, it's not something that's on their desk or that they use. So understanding when you talk to your doctor about the red blood cell mineral test, the best way that they can find it is pretty much exactly how you wrote it in there, RBC mineral. Because most doctors, most hospitals, they have their tests coded in many different ways. And when they're coded in different ways, you can't just say, oh, this one code fits every hospital, every doctor's office, every clinic. It doesn't work that way. But RBC stands for red blood cell. And then usually when it comes down to the mineral, it'll say RBC potassium, RBC magnesium, and this is how they order that specific test, because a lot of times, even with a lot of clients that I've coached through this process, their doctors aren't familiar with it. But once they have the specs of how to identify it, it pops right up inside of their system like nothing. And even if you're having trouble getting it from your doctor, you can easily go to like a LabCorp or any outside lab that's near you and order the test. The price varies. I've seen them as cheap as 80 bucks. I also see them 400 something bucks. You know, labs are all different. But red blood cell, RBC, and the mineral is how you identify it. RBC potassium, RBC magnesium, or whatever mineral that are all aligned there, that pinpoints those things. And the thing about the red blood cell mineral test, what makes it a lot better than a standard blood test is, again, it looks at the cells and see how it's actually utilizing the minerals needed to help correct your blood pressure issues. Think of it just like when you do, let's see, let me break it down. Think of it think of it this way. Think of it like an A1C test, right? So the A1C test, basically, the A1C test is basically how you measure your blood sugar levels to see how your body's been managing your blood sugar. So what happens is, when that A1C test gives you data and information that goes back for like the last 3 months of how your body's been utilizing or how your body's been functioning when it comes down to your blood sugar levels. So the A1C test gives you that data that goes back and gives the doctor a better understanding. The red blood cell mineral test is the same way. Testing that cell, it gives you a better understanding of how the cells are actually utilizing the magnesium, the potassium, all those minerals that are essential for regulating your blood pressure. So it's a lot more sensitive. And that standard the standard blood test that you typically do when you go to the doctor's office, that test is the serum that really doesn't show you much. It gives you a surface level. And the thing is, you can look and see the potassium, you can see the sodium levels, you can see the other nutrients, all the other minerals that are floating around. But the minerals are not just floating around in the bloodstream aimlessly. They need to be somewhere, and they need to be inside of the cells working. And what you see inside of the bloodstream, that small 2%, it doesn't account for what your body actually needs and what it needs to function properly. And inside of the cell is where you get that data that your doctor needs to better understand any deficiency that's contributing to the problem. So red blood cell mineral test, RBC potassium, RBC magnesium, and that's how you're going to be able to identify it. And don't be alarmed, like I say, if your doctor don't know what the test is, because there's thousands of tests that are out there. And doctors, a lot of times, they don't have to learn these things. They don't have to keep up with these things, because new things are produced all the time when it comes down to test and understanding. But if you advocate for yourself, show up to your doctor with, hey, I want to get this type of test done, and you can help them pinpoint exactly what it is, I'm sure they have no problem finding it, getting it done for you, and helping you move forward on your process to correcting these issues. So, that hopefully I gave you a good understanding of the red blood cell mineral test. Walking is helping me. I love the treadmill. I used to hate the treadmill. Exercise is going to be one of the biggest parts of your healing journey, mainly because when you move your body, this impacts every cell and every tissue inside of your body. This is a form of cellular rejuvenation across the whole. Should we stop drinking coffee and herbal tea while fasting? Yes, we spoke about this yesterday. Reason being, now make sure this clear for you guys. Again, when it comes down to coffee and herbal tea, a lot of different schools of thought talk about how herbal tea and coffee are something that can be beneficial while fasting. It won't break your fast, rather. And that's true. It won't necessarily break your fast. But understanding that when it comes down to coffee and caffeine, this is something that impacts your blood pressure directly. Caffeine is a vasoconstrictor that causes your blood pressure to rise as soon as you consume it. A lot of people that drink coffee consistently have an elevated blood pressure for no particular reason, just because they consume coffee, and that vasoconstriction causes their blood pressure to rise as long as that coffee is inside of their system. As soon as that coffee leaves, the blood pressure starts to come down. But what's one thing that people that drink a lot of coffee do? They drink multiple cups throughout the day. So now they're on cruise control with their blood pressure being elevated just by the caffeine consumption. So understanding when you're fasting, this caffeine will cause your blood pressure to rise. And the coffee itself, it won't break your fast, but it's going to go against what you're trying to accomplish, which is bring your blood pressure down. So the easiest thing to do is to remove those outside stimulants from your diet and just consume water only during this process. That way you don't have to worry about, is this causing some issue or not? Reason being, because you're not consuming it at all. So you don't have to even worry about what may be going on. And when it comes down to the herbal teas, most herbal teas can be just fine. But what happens is sometimes these herbal teas have like dehydrated fruits and sweeteners or things that can actually sweeten it, which can potentially break your fast, especially if you're consuming it throughout the day, because you're giving yourself, let's say you give yourself 25, 50 milligrams of sugar through the course of the day. That will break your fast and just leave you in a calorie deficit where your body's not getting that healing, that autophagy, that autolysis, and the ketosis that you're looking for because of the nutrients that you're giving yourself. So understanding that in order to avoid that potential conflict, just drink water. That's the easiest thing. That way you don't have to worry about, well, I think this is happening or I think this. If you drink water only, you know it's happening, because water is water, and this is going to allow you to reach the goals that you're actually trying to obtain. So hopefully that's pretty clear. Do you recommend dry fasting at all? For a person that's experienced fasting, yes. That's the only thing. Dry fasting is something that's really tough. Dry fasting does bring about those results that you're looking for a lot faster, but I won't recommend it for anyone unless they're an experienced faster. And ideally, I would suggest that person that's doing that is not taking any medication or anything as well. So if you're just trying to dry fast and maybe you're dealing with other health issues, you should really be guided along this journey. You shouldn't be doing it by yourself. But for the person that's not dealing with these issues that are dry fasting, if they're an experienced faster, it can really get some great results. As a matter of fact, that brings me to some further information that I have here. And speaking about dry fasting, I have this great book here that I want to just go over with you guys really quick. And I'm going to go over a couple of them. That way, like for instance, if you want to learn more about dry fasting, this will be a great option for you. And I'm going to start with the oldest book that I have. This is actually a reprint, but this book is from like 18 something. Dr. Herbert Shelton. No, I take it back. It's like the early 19th century, something like that. I hope I said that right too. But yeah, Dr. Herbert Shelton, the science and the fine arts of fasting. A lot of this information here that's in this book, it dates back to the early 1800s when they were using fasting and these different strategies of understanding how the body works. So this is a newer print of a very old book that features information from older fasting books. And to be honest, it's a really tough read because, again, it's a really old book, but it's loaded with a wealth of information when it comes down to just understanding the science of fasting, what's going on inside of your body, and how it impacts your overall health. So the book is The Science and Fine Arts of Fasting by Herbert M. Shelton. And you can find it on Amazon, maybe about $20-30. He also have a great collection of other books about health and lifestyle. So those are other options that you guys can also pick up that can just continue to assist you on your journey of educating and learning more. So I'm gonna put this up here a little bit. Herbert M. Shelton, The Science and Fine Art of Fasting. This is a great pickup. It's a tough read, but it's a really good book. I've read this book probably 2 or 3 times, and I always reference it when I dig into fasting information. Now, the next one, my favorite book when it comes to fasting is The Pleasure Trap. And we spoke about Dr. Alan Goldhammer yesterday with the True North Health Facility in Northern California and the great work that he's doing there when it comes down to fasting and blood pressure. We talked about the study where he took a couple hundred individuals, fasted them for a few days, and 95% of them were able to eliminate their blood pressure medications completely, and eliminate the blood pressure medication completely. And over the course of the 6 or 8 months he continued to follow them, they continue to get great results, and most of them didn't even need to get back on blood pressure medication at all. So The Pleasure Trap it helps you understand those triggering things that are disrupting us when it comes down to our daily diet. So it's all about mastering the hidden forces that undermines happiness and health. And one of the things it talks about is those foods that are triggering that makes making dietary changes or fasting tough. It talks about the coffee, talks about the salt, the oils, the sugars, and all those things that can that stimulates us in different areas. It talks about dopamine, one of those hormones that are released in the body whenever you're eating something that's savory or sweet or tasty. And it talks about that effect that it has mentally. The Pleasure Trap is a really, really good book. You can find it on Amazon as well. Dr. Alan Goldhammer. And again, I'm not affiliated with any of these guys, but these are all part of the things that I dove into to help me understand the art of fasting. I took a couple courses and seminars as well, and these things really catapult me from this position, again, 248 pounds with all these chronic health issues, and applying these different strategies that are here that we're also talking about is really, really great as well. Next one. This is a really good one. I'm gonna give you several different options again, and most of some of these things you might even be familiar with. This one, The Miracle of Fasting. I'm pretty sure most of us are familiar with Paul Bragg or Bragg's apple cider vinegar, and Bragg's. They got a ton of different products and things that they make. So Paul Bragg's, this is him right here actually, he wrote this book, and he makes the apple cider vinegar and all those other things. He wrote about the miracle of fasting and applying it for healing, especially when it comes down to your cardiovascular system and your overall health. It's a really simple book, an easy read, and it goes over those tactics and strategies, but most importantly, it helps reinforce the mindset of why you're doing these things. Because a lot of times when you go to your doctor and talk about fasting, they don't really have that type of information or the time to deliver the information, in fact, to help you understand the benefits of fasting, how to successfully apply it. A lot of times, you're kind of just winging it on your own, trying to figure things out. But, joining groups like we have here, or, picking up books, you have to educate yourself in the art of these things. So that way you can continue to move forward and use these different strategies, because these are all built-in strategies. It doesn't cost you anything to fast. Once you learn how to do it and understand the processes of it, you can fast any day of the week that you want to. It's just once you understand it, you have to apply it and then move forward. Next up, I have The Complete Guide to Fasting, and this is by Dr. Jason Fung. And now with this book here, this is a great guide to fasting where he talks about intermittent fasting, alternate day fasting, water only fasting. This is probably one of the easier reads that are there. This is really, really simple, really great information as far as fasting. Now, what I don't really agree with this book here is the dietary strategies that are there, because a lot of individuals that I've seen go through the dietary strategies that he's talking about, they kind of yo-yoed back and forth, where they lose all this weight and then they gain it all back. They lose all this weight and gain it all back. And that's something that you don't want to happen. But when it comes down to understanding fasting, I think out of all these books here, he really painted a really great picture. And on top of that, he has a lot of research and studies where he's got great results through the fasting process when it comes to blood pressure, blood sugar issues, and those things. And it's a lot of data that's in this book that's very motivational for individuals that are trying to learn these types of things. And lastly, my last one here that I'm going to give you guys is the longevity diet. Now, this is for the individual that's a beginner and they're not too sold on fasting yet, but they want to get better. And the longevity diet, this strategy that's aligned inside this book, it allows you to get the benefits of fasting while still eating a certain amount of food. So this book goes down to help you understand how to get your body into autophagy, into ketosis, get those healing processes started while still consuming specific foods and not really being on the far end of the spectrum when it comes down to fasting. Dr. Walter Longo, I think he's out in USC somewhere. He has this whole, he has a whole team of students where they've been studying and analyzing fasting in many different ways for several years. But The Longevity Diet is a really great book, really good read. And when it comes down to applying these strategies, I myself personally haven't done it, but just reading the research and the things that he's done, this is something that's really, really great for that individual that's maybe let's say you're older, you're up in age, and you're not too sure. Some people, they kind of worry about maybe how the fasting is going to affect their hormones and things like that. This book does a good job of going into that, and it allows for you to creep into fasting. And when you creep into it, you start to feel the benefits, and it allows you to gain that momentum and then continue to apply other strategies just like that. So those are the several books: The Longevity Diet, Walter Longo, Jason Fung, The Complete Guide to Fasting, The Miracle Fast by Paul Bragg, The Pleasure Trap by Dr. Alan Goldhammer, and The Science and Fine Art of Fasting by Dr. Herbert Shelton. So those are some of the books that I do recommend. I've read all of these books several times, and it's just great information, especially when you're on the healing journey. And it's something that once you understand, it's something that sticks with you forever. So I'm gonna keep going through those questions, and then we're gonna go ahead and wrap up this this session for what we have inside of our ebook. Here we go. I'm doing a 16-8. When I do eat during the 8 hours, I find that my stomach is hurting, and am I eating too much? Would it be okay if I just ate fruit at that time? Yeah, so this goes back to listening to your body while you're fasting. Sometimes, think of it this way. It sounds like you might be like a first time fasting. Usually what happens is when you're fasting, you shut down your digestive system. Nothing's coming in. And when you shut down your digestive system, your body goes into cleaning and the healing and straightening things out. It's kind of like a housekeeping. Like, let's say you're off from work this day. And typically when most people are off from work, they kind of like clean up and dust and do laundry and take care of what needs to be done. And your body does the same thing. It takes a break from its regular duties and does what it needs to be done. And sometimes when you break your fast, if you're eating foods that require a significant amount of digestion, this can cause some discomfort. Let's say if you're eating like some heavy grains, or let's say if you've been eating animal protein and things like that, this can cause some discomfort. So understanding how to break your fast properly, which we're going to get to in just a second, is going to be very key. And you mentioned like eating fresh fruits or having a salad or something that's gentle to get that digestive system started back up. That's going to be how you get that motor back going and allow for this discomfort to cease. So being mindful of what you're putting in your body on an empty stomach is going to be very important. If you're eating like some carbs or bread and pastas, that's going to definitely disrupt you in many different areas. So understanding how to break that fast, get that body up, get that digestive system up and going is going to be key. And we're going to get to that, like I just mentioned, in a second. Here we go. And again, if you guys have any other questions, feel free to drop them inside of the chat. Here we go. Let's see. I'm just trying to read over it. So many of them. Here we go. All right. I like that you guys are having conversations in the chat, man. That's actually pretty cool. And that's one of the best benefits of being in a group and having this group setting, especially when you're doing things like this. Because now, when you're in a group, you have a group of individuals that are all dealing with the same or similar issues, and we're on different levels of our journey. Like, again, I was dealing with blood pressure issues, blood sugar issues. I'm sure other individuals are all there dealing with the same things. And we're all on different levels in our journey. And what happens is, in a group setting, we can all give feedback and support each other through this process. And that's one of the best things about being in a group. You have that added support. So I definitely love to see you guys communicating in the group, because this is something that's really, really great when it comes down to getting that added motivation and that support that sometimes we might not get at home. So I definitely appreciate all you guys inside here talking about fasting and all that other great stuff. So now I'm going to go back into the Healing Fast ebook. That way we can just continue with the actual challenge, and we're going to tie everything together. So now we're going to get into ketosis. And I'm sure most of us have heard about ketosis, but now we're going to get into it a little bit deeper and understand exactly what's happening through this process. Ketosis is a metabolic state where the body burns fat for energy instead of carbohydrates. When the carbohydrate intake is low, such as during fasting, or during a ketogenic diet, that's what the keto diet stands for, the liver converts fatty acids into ketone bodies, which serves as an alternate energy source for the body. So when you're in that fasting state, your body doesn't have any carbohydrates to create energy with. So there's no food coming in. Now the body still needs to feed itself in order to provide the cells with what it needs. So now this is where, autophagy, autolysis all starts to take place. It starts to break down the nutritional storages that's all packed up around you in different areas. Once it starts to break these nutritional storages down, this is where all those nutrients are released back into the bloodstream and the body starts to utilize them. So as those minerals and vitamins are going to the cells, now the body starts to break down that fat and it uses that as energy now. So now you wonder, like, what's happening during the fasting? The nutritional process is still going on. Your body is nourishing the cells with those vitamins and minerals, and it's converting that fat into energy to continue to keep you moving forward in the right direction. And that's where the weight loss process starts to begin when you're fasting. Now, also understanding that when you get deeper into the fast, your energy level starts to change. Let's say about 24 to 48 hours into the fast, one of those extended fasts, what happens is your body is switching gears completely. So now once the body eliminates all the carbs, all the glucose out of the system, now your body has to completely switch gears and switch to ketones as its primary fuel source. So you tend to see a drop in energy where you just, oh man, I'm tired, I'm exhausted, I'm just not feeling it. But what happens once your body switches that gear and completely eliminates the glucose from the system, it now starts to utilize those ketones, that starts to utilize that fat and create ketones, and now that becomes the primary fuel source, and now you start to see the weight loss start to become a lot more rapid, your energy levels improve, and you start feeling a lot better doing fasting. And this is where you start to see people doing 7-day fast, 14-day, 30-day fasting, things like that, because they've gotten over that hump where their body switch gears completely. And you will wonder, like, wow, how does somebody do all this? How does somebody fast this long? It's because they're no longer using the food as their primary source. The body is now fueling itself off of fat, and this is how your body stays in this ketosis mode, and the healing continues to occur throughout this process. So the connection to high blood pressure, number one, is going to be the weight loss. Ketosis often leads to weight loss as the body taps into fat storages for energy. Since obesity is a significant risk factor for high blood pressure, weight loss through ketosis can contribute to lowering blood pressure. Number two, improved insulin sensitivity. Ketosis may enhance insulin sensitivity, helping the body use glucose more effectively. Improved insulin function can lead to better blood sugar control, which is associated with healthier blood pressure levels. Now, one thing that we have to understand is that when it comes down to things like insulin resistance, this runs parallel with high blood pressure. If you're dealing with insulin resistance and blood sugar issues, if you're dealing with insulin resistance and blood sugar issues, your blood pressure problems are running neck and neck right along with it. And what happens is you're not going to correct your blood pressure issues unless you deal with this insulin sensitivity that's happening. So you can do all these things and try to do these. You can do a whole bunch of things to try to correct your blood pressure, try to take these things. But if your blood sugar issues are not dealt with, that blood pressure issue is going to continue to occur. So these things run neck and neck with each other. They're so closely related. And this is why it's so important that when you're making changes to correct your blood pressure, you start with your lifestyle. When you take prescription pills, they don't address these things specifically. Sometimes you take one pill that does this, you take another pill that does that, and you take a third pill that does something else, but they're not working together to get to the root cause of the problem. They're just patching up holes in your system, and none of them are getting to the root cause. But understanding when you start to make lifestyle changes, this impacts your body as a whole. One, fasting. Fasting impacts your blood sugar, your blood pressure, your cholesterol. It impacts all these metabolic systems. Number two, you start to exercise and move your body more. Exercise impacts your blood pressure, your cardiovascular system, your blood sugar levels. It impacts everything. It impacts every cell, every muscle, every tissue inside of the body, and it's one of the best rejuvenation efforts. When it comes down to nutrition, making nutritional changes, it impacts your body as a whole. So understanding when it comes down to lifestyle, understanding your nutrition, your sleeping habits, your stress levels, how much movement you're creating, your relationships, as well as applying a fasting strategy. Those 6 keys, all these things come together to allow for you to improve your overall health and put a system in play to help you get to the root cause of the problem. So this is the power of lifestyle, whereas just taking a pill just band-aids the problem. And nobody wants to wear a band-aid for 10, 15, 20 years. And unfortunately, many people have. But understanding, it doesn't matter if you're 50, 60, 70, 80 years old, you can still make the necessary changes to correct these issues. And inside of the high blood pressure group, we have living testimonies of people 50, 60, 70. I don't know if we got an 80-year-old yet, but 77, they're all up there, and they've been able to get to the root cause of the problem. Not just correcting their blood pressure issues, getting their blood sugar issues taken care of, and getting off of prescription pills. So this is a testament to just living a health promoting lifestyle to correct these issues. So number 2 is insulin sensitivity. Number 3, reduction in triglycerides. High level of triglycerides, a type of fat in the blood, are linked to high blood pressure. Ketosis has been shown to reduce triglyceride levels, supporting cardiovascular health. And this goes back into that cholesterol issue. If you're dealing with cholesterol issues, fasting is a way to help you hit all these different things. Number 4, anti-inflammatory effects. Some research suggests that ketones have anti-inflammatory properties. By reducing inflammation, ketosis may positively impact blood vessel function, improving the endothelial health. And number 5 is the potential impact on the sodium balance. So these are all just things that are happening while you're fasting. And as you continue to apply this fasting strategy and you become more consistent with it, your body will reflect that. You will see the healing reflect through the way your body feels. Your energy levels improve, your digestion improves, everything starts to change. And these are big motivational factors that keep people moving in the right direction, because it's nothing like waking up and feeling better than you felt the whole year or the last 5, 10 years. This is gonna make you just want to feel this way and keep doing these great things. So understand that you can do it. I'm not different from any one of you guys, as well as all the other case studies that are talked about when it comes down to fasting. A lot of these individuals are just like me and you. 35, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90 years old. All these individuals are in these studies where they've just applied these strategies, these lifestyle strategies that we're talking about, and they've gotten results. The only thing that makes them different is that they started earlier and they were consistent. So right now you're starting, now just be consistent and set those goals for yourself to get where you need to be. So next, we're gonna go into the breaking the fast, which is a very important part that we just kind of briefly spoke about with one of those questions. If you guys have any other questions, feel free to drop them inside. We're going to go to the breaking the fast section right now, because we already talked about the different strategies and things there, and I'll review them once we get through this. But we're going to go into breaking the fast and then talk a little bit about those symptoms as well. So matter of fact, let me start with the symptoms. So here we go. I'm gonna start with the symptoms, then it goes into breaking the fast. That way we can just kind of understand what's going on through the process and then tie it in with breaking it. So when it comes down to the symptoms, some things that you can expect is this. You got headaches, nausea, fatigue, the hunger pains, dizziness, and lightheadedness. And those are some of the root symptoms of the body aches. Those are some of the things you can experience during fasting. Not everyone experiences the same. Not everyone experiences symptoms, and everyone surely doesn't experience the same symptoms. Your symptoms are directly related to your quality of health. If you're someone that fasts and your symptoms are excruciating and they're tough to deal with, this shows how toxic your body can potentially be. So understanding that these symptoms are part of the process and gradually progressing through these is going to be key to helping you understand and get through this strategy. And what I'm going to do, I'm also going to give you some further information that's going to help you maneuver through these as well. So headaches. Headaches are part of the game. They come and go. My first time fasting, headaches came and go, came and go. Somewhere in between 30 minutes to an hour, you're going to up and down. And this is why it's important if you're doing an extended type of fast that you kind of just relax and sit down. You don't want to be chasing no kids around and having work to do and having to do stuff. If you're doing an extended type of fast, just relax and sit down and conserve your energy. But if you're doing more of an intermittent style fasting, just know that the headaches are coming and going. And the last thing that you want to do is pop a pill in order to relieve that headache that you may be dealing with. You know, a lot of times the headache might come and you're like, man, I got to just take this pill to help me through this process. Just know that that medication that you're taking, this is now added toxins that you're putting in your body that the body now has to deal with on top of the toxins that are already moving around. So the easiest thing to do is really just allow yourself, the easiest thing to do is just see yourself through this process. When you start to take medication for those symptoms that you may be experiencing, it just adds to the workload of the body. And now you start to, even though you might be relieved of that initial headache, your body still has to eliminate those toxins that are there. So understanding what's important, you're trying to cleanse and rid yourself. If you're trying to do that, you can't just continue to retoxify your body through the form of medication. And I get it. Sometimes, we just have to deal with that process. But the best thing that you could do is be somewhere where you're comfortable while fasting, where you're allowed to go through these healing processes. Number 2 is nausea. Nausea, you can get nauseous, it comes and goes as well, but simply staying hydrated during this process is going to be very key. Some people might feel nauseous and decide to take some herbal tea that can stimulate them and help them in different ways, but you have to be mindful of whatever type of tea that you may be taking. Let's say you have a ginger tea or some other type of herbal tea with no sweeteners or nothing else added to it, that can be supportive. But be mindful that you don't want to consume anything that can potentially break your fast. The safest thing to do is just simply have some water during the process, or if you're comfortable with the tea that you're preparing, it's just some ginger, maybe some turmeric, and you're steeping it and you're going, that can be just fine and help you with any type of nausea that you're dealing with. Fatigue comes and goes. Your body's breaking down, and cleansing itself, the energy levels will be up and down, but making sure that you're in a position where you're comfortable while fasting and that you're not taking on any added pressures. Like, you shouldn't be doing an extended type fast while you have to work, because the last thing you want to be is at work while fasting and feel uncomfortable or feel like a little edgy because of the fast that you're dealing with, because this can not only affect your performance, but it can affect your job too and how you connect with people. So if you're doing those extended fasts, understand that these issues will come, and you want to be in an environment where you're comfortable enough to do this, to roll through the process. The hunger pains, understanding that hormones are released during this process, and those hormones, they are up and down. And one thing about your body is your body knows everything about you. It knows when it knows your eating schedule. It knows like everything. So if you're used to eating at 1 o'clock and your body's like, she should be eating right now, why aren't you feeding us? And now your body's expecting something to come in, but you're fasting and you're not giving it anything. So now your body's like, we're hungry. Nothing's coming, and you're triggered and you feel those hunger pangs happening. But this is part of the process. But one of the best things about it is that as you continue consistently with fasting, your body adjusts to the strategies that you're applying. Because after 1 day, 2 days of the intermittent fasting, and your body sees that we're not getting anything first thing in the morning or what have you, your body starts to make the adjustment, and now it's not calling for food, and it's better able to regulate itself to make sure it manages itself through this whole process. So understanding that hunger pains come and go while fasting, but once you get accustomed to the strategy that you're using, your body gets a lot more comfortable, it gets a lot easier, and this allows you to continue to gradually progress and apply different strategies and get better at fasting as a whole. So don't throw in the towel as soon as you get hungry. Don't try to just snack on one small piece of something just to try to knock the edge off a little bit, because again, those things can break your fast easily. Simply having a couple grapes is enough to break your fast for a lot of people. So understanding that, as these things happen, being firm in the reason why you're fasting is going to be very, very important. That way, as you understand the why, this allows you to get through the whole process. And lastly, we got dizziness and lightheadedness. Dizziness and lightheadedness is something that you have to be very mindful of. One thing about it is, if you're fasting and you notice that you're dizzy and lightheaded, this can be directly related to your blood sugar levels, and you might not be in a position to do the fast that you're actually doing. And for a lot of people, sometimes if they're experiencing this, their blood sugar levels start to drop too low. And this is where, you know, the hypoglycemia effect starts to kick in. So understand, if you're ever dizzy or lightheaded while fasting, go ahead and break your fast. Go ahead and break it. Don't be like, oh, I'm trying to push through it and this is just a symptom. With dizziness and lightheadedness, your blood sugar levels getting dangerously low. Break your fast, have maybe some fruit juice or something that's gonna get your sugar levels up really quick. I never suggest like having candy or stuff like that, but having some fruit juice, maybe your fruit juice is gonna be the best option, and it'll get your blood sugar levels back up. You'll start feeling a lot better, and simply when the next day comes again, you start your fast all over again. And what happens is, as you get better at fasting, your body's gonna help regulate your blood sugar levels a lot better. And now, when you typically get dizzy or get lightheaded around 12 or 13 hours of fasting, as you continue to reach that mark and break your fast, you'll get better. And now that 12, 13 hour goes to 14 hours. That 14 hours can eventually go to 16 hours. And then you just gradually progress and build. But you have to be able to understand the warning signs in your body. Your body is all knowing. It's nothing that I could tell you that's going to help you understand what's going on within yourself. The easiest thing to do is listen to your body. If you're fasting and you just get the shakes out of nowhere, that's a warning sign. You know, understand what's happening. Okay, maybe, you know, I'm pushing it too far. Let me go ahead and break my fast and then start over again the next day, and then continue to document your journey and understand the process. I felt really bad around 10 hours. Okay, I broke my fast. I went another 10 hours again. I felt a lot better, but I wasn't the greatest. I did 10 hours this whole week straight. And after 5-6 days of doing 10 hours, I started feeling better and I pushed it to 12. This is how you gradually progress. But understanding your body and moving forward is going to be the best way to analyze this process. Now, breaking the fast. So, matter of fact, I don't even need this right now. So when it comes down to breaking the fast, we're talking about extended fast, intermittent fasting, alternate day fasting, all forms of fasting. The best way to break your fast is by simply having fresh fruits. Fresh fruits is going to be ideal. My personal choices is always going to be the fresh berries, like blueberries, strawberries, raspberries, cherries, things of that nature. Why? Because they're lower on the sugar level. My favorite, it tastes better, but most importantly, like you can have a nice variety of them that's going to nourish you on all levels. So having fresh fruits is always going to be ideal to break the fast. Reason being, again, the digestive system is shut down and nothing's going on in your digestive tract. But if you put something in, let's say instead of having fresh fruits, you decide to have like pizza for lunch. Now you're giving the body something, a heavy load to digest. And now the digestive system has to get crunked up in order to process the food that you've given it. And this can cause digestive discomfort. You know, you get stomach aches and stomach cramps, and you just feel all bloated and you know, just achy because of the what you've consumed. So understanding that fresh fruits are always going to be the best thing to break your fast with. And the reason behind this is because they're easier and gentler on the digestive system. So typically eating fresh fruits can take your body 20 minutes to 30 minutes to digest, depending on what it is. So 20 to 30 minutes is great. It comes in, body breaks it down, utilizes it, assimilates it, sends it everywhere it needs to go, and it eliminates it. You ever like ate a mango or a watermelon, and an hour later you're in the bathroom pooping it out? That's the body breaks it down and uses it really, really quickly. So understanding that fresh fruits are the way to go. Whereas when you eat like, you know, bread and pasta or pizza or animal-based products, these things stay in your digestive tract a lot longer. You're talking anywhere between 4 and 8 hours, where your body has to grind it and break it down and, you know, just assimilate it. It takes a whole lot longer. And now this process is more intense. And when you're coming off of a fast, this can cause those type of discomforts. And even when it comes down to things like whole grains and other cooked foods, it can be disruptive to the system. So understanding fresh fruits is a great way to break the fast. Having a nice large salad right behind it. And now this will allow for you to get that system going and keep moving. And then once you break that fast, and your diet and you're back in your nourishing mode, now you can start to include the other health promoting foods that you're consuming throughout your day. But understanding breaking that fast, fresh fruits is going to be ideal. Fresh vegetables in the form of salad on their rawest form is going to be great as well. Now, some people like to go for the smoothie route, and it's a toss up. I'm not really the biggest fan of breaking fast with smoothies anymore. I once was, but understanding when it comes down to your overall health, especially for us individuals that may be dealing with multiple health issues, understanding that a smoothie is not going to be the best choice for you. It's not the worst choice, but it's not going to be the best. Reason being because let's say you take a smoothie and you got maybe a 16-ounce smoothie that you might have made for yourself. You got a couple blueberries, maybe a couple of strawberries, a banana, maybe some dates, some hemp seeds, flax seeds, all of it put inside of it together. I'll just kind of name my own personal smoothie that I like. But you got it all put inside together and you blend it up into the blender and you pour it into the cup. You got a 16-ounce smoothie. So all those fruits that you put inside of there, blending it up breaks down the fibers that are there. And the fibers that are in these fruits, this is what slows down, this is what like regulates or slows down the digestive process. And if you break down the fibers, this speeds up the digestion process. And what happens is instead of those fruits going through that 20 to 30 minutes of digesting, now they get into the system, the body rapidly absorbs them, and this will cause your blood sugars to go up. This will cause insulin to spike. This will cause a number of things to occur. Now, understanding that, again, insulin resistance, this is an issue that a lot of people dealing with blood pressure issues are dealing with. And when this happens, your body is triggered in different ways. And although these smoothies may be health promoting and giving you the nutrients that you need, you're still triggering your body in this particular manner. And it's not doing anything beneficial for you. It's giving you some nutrients, but it's not helping when it comes to certain aspects of it. So the easiest thing to do is don't break your fast with a smoothie. Just have the fruits in its whole form, and that's going to be beneficial for you, especially if you're dealing with cholesterol issues or triglyceride issues, because when that insulin spike and that increase in blood sugar, this triggers enzymes inside of the liver, and now you find the increased production of triglycerides, and this can contribute to high triglyceride levels. So just understand that being mindful of the strategy that you're approaching based off of your health and your goals is going to be key. Now, for the average individual that's not dealing with blood pressure issues, don't have blood sugar issues, don't have any other concerns going on, yeah, they can drink a smoothie after a fast. It ain't going to bother them. But for us individuals that got cholesterol or have these other issues that are happening, we probably want to stay away from it. That's probably the best way I can say it without trying to make it seem like smoothies are bad. Because, you hear so much information on the internet nowadays that say this is good, this is bad, this is bad, this is good. So to try to make sure it's understandable for everybody that's here, our goal is to correct our blood pressure issues and improve our health. We're dealing with problems. We have blood pressure problems, we have triglyceride problems, we have blood sugar problems. We want to find the best pathway to help us, but smoothies are just not in the conversation right now. So avoiding those smoothies during the process and allowing our body to heal and do what it needs to do at its maximum level is going to help us get to the end goal that we're trying to accomplish. So hopefully that was a good, I broke it down enough for you guys. So I'm gonna go ahead and go back through the questions right now. I kind of went over time a little bit, but we actually finished the ebook as well. And but I'm going to answer questions that we have here, and keep everything and tie everything all together for you guys. So if you have any questions, feel free to drop them inside of the chat, and I'll go ahead and answer all the questions that we have here. And that way we can just tie together the Healing Fast Challenge. We actually finished the ebook, so I'm gonna take the rest of this time to answer these questions. So here we go. You asked about a book. I'm not sure exactly which book you were speaking about, but if you put it in the chat again, we'll go from there. Here we go. Bone broth to break my fast. Yeah, that's one of those studies. Again, I think in the Complete Guide to Fasting, Dr. William Fong, he promotes the ketogenic diet, and he talks about bone broth with breaking the fast. It has a lot of nutrients and minerals in it. It's very gentle on the digestion. That's one of those strategies that they do use. Me personally, I don't consume any animal-based products, but I don't consume any animal-based products, and I don't necessarily support the bone broth. But one thing that I don't do is deny the research behind it and understanding the science behind that strategy. He was able to get a lot of great results from individuals following those types of strategies. So it's something that has proven to be very helpful. And me personally, I'm very transparent about the things that I read. I read things that are vegan, plant-based, animal-based, all these different things, and I just absorb a lot of information from different areas. And if it works, it works. And one thing about bone broth is that seems to be a strategy that works for a lot of people because, again, it's gentle, it doesn't take away, and it allows for the body to nourish itself in different areas. It's just not up my alley, but that's something that does work. So eating overnight oats isn't good to break your fast. It's not the ideal item. Again, the overnight oats are a raw item. The oats are fine. It's something that I consume myself. But when it comes to breaking your fast, depending on the strategy that you're trying to do, as well as what your ultimate goals are and your current state of health, it's going to be where you're at. If you're trying to lose weight, as well as get some other things in control, you might want to stay away from the oats because the oats will pack them on you. It will pack some weight on you as well. It kind of slow you down on the weight loss process. So understanding that it all aligns with your goals of what you're trying to do, but the fruits are going to be the best option when it comes to breaking your fast. Can we have fruit juice fresh in the fast? While you're fasting, no, because if you drink fruit juice while fasting, this will break your fast. And again, this will put you in a calorie deficit instead of actually this fasting healing stage. So you don't want to be in a calorie deficit because all you're gonna do is lose some weight. But if you want to be in that healing aspect where you can rebuild that endothelium system and correct some of that internal damage that's contributing to the problem. So drinking fresh fruit juice while fasting will break your fast. And this is where you get into the conversation of juice cleansing and these other healing methods that are out there, which juice cleansing is something that can be very beneficial for the right person, but understanding how to apply it is something that's going to be very important. Should we put our distilled water in a glass container after purchasing it? Since I hear so much, we shouldn't drink water from plastic container. Yeah, that's a great option. One thing about it is this: if you buy it in a plastic container, then it's already leached out anything that it might have been contaminated with. But one thing I try to say is that don't get caught up in everything that we might hear out there because it's never anything that's consistent, especially when it comes from a lot of different areas. So the easiest thing to do, I would say, is do what makes you comfortable. And if you feel like, just switching a container makes you feel better, then do it. But a lot of times, man, it's a lot of information out there. And the easiest thing to do is do what you know and do what makes you feel good. If it makes you feel comfortable to switch those out, albeit, like me personally, all my containers in my house are glass because I understand how plastics can impact your overall health. But one thing I don't do is run from the boogeyman every time somebody says something is bad and things like that. So just be mindful. And as you get better and get comfortable through the process that you're going through, you'll make the adjustments that you feel are necessary. And that's probably the easiest thing to do. But don't worry about the outside stuff. Do what you know and get better at what you know and understand. And as you progress, you'll see that your lifestyle changes and adjusts to make sure that you're in alignment in the best way possible for yourself to avoid some of those pitfalls. But I try to avoid a lot of information about different things out there because it's just so much. And when you start looking at the outside world and the information that coming from all these different areas, it kind of takes you away from what you're actually trying to accomplish. So that's just my take on things, but it's what it is. Does the hunger subside when you go into ketosis? Same thing, it comes and goes as well. It doesn't necessarily subside. It comes and goes, but you do feel a lot better. One of the things I mentioned about my longest fasting journey yesterday, but around day 14 and 15, I had a bowel movement out of nowhere. This might be a little bit too much for some people, but day 14 to 15 out of my fasting journey, I had a bowel movement out of nowhere. And that bowel movement was crazy because I hadn't eaten anything for 14 days. And having that bowel movement, a lot of things pushed through. And after that point, my hunger pains were completely gone. And I just was there. Like, I was more bored than hungry than anything. And it was like I knew my body and my system had changed and got over some type of hump because of what was going on. But understanding that during ketosis, hunger pain still comes and goes, but your body adjusts to these things, because once your body realizes that nothing else is coming in, it makes the necessary adjustments. And that's why you see people that do 7-day, 20-day, 30-day, 40-day fast get the results, because their body makes the changes to what they need to do, and it starts to nourish itself from the inside. And we talked about how the nutritional process doesn't stop while you're fasting. Just because you're not eating anything doesn't mean that your body's not nourishing itself. It starts to use those internal storages that's layered in all the fat that you may be holding, and it feeds itself off of those things. So nutrition keeps going. Here we go. Still reading through the comments. I see everybody communicating with themselves. This is great. What's the best time to take your blood pressure? Should it be before or after a meal? There's a lot of information out there that goes about taking blood pressure. One thing I tell people is this. I tell it to them like this. Think about your body as like an airplane. And your body's an airplane. And the busiest time for an airplane is first thing in the morning, when the pilot gets in, you got to check all the controls and make sure everything is set up so they can get to where they're going safely. The pilot is his most busy as soon as he get into the cockpit. And your body is the same way. Your body is getting busy. As soon as you wake up in the morning, your body starts to get itself going to where it needs to be. And then halfway through the day, your body plateaus off, you're on cruise control, and then around the end of the day, around sunset in the evening time, your body starts to wind down, you get tired, you get sleepy, and then the cycle starts over again. So one thing that I've had a lot of my clients do was when they start taking their blood pressure, take it first thing in the morning when you get up, because first thing when you get up, it tends to be the lowest and it's only going higher from that point on. So you take it first thing in the morning, this will let you know what your baseline levels look like. You take it first thing, 7, 8 o'clock, soon as you wake up, this will tell you what your baseline is. Throughout the day, it's going to gradually rise, which is completely normal because you're moving more, you're doing more, and your body needs to support itself through the whole process. Then once you start to get home, it starts to dip again. Now, taking your blood pressure for the second time before dinner time is going to be ideal. You take it before dinner time, you tend to be on the cruise control coming down. But what happens once you start eating, once you start consuming or eating supper, now your body has to kick into gear one more time for that help with digestion. Now your heart starts to pump a little bit harder, blood pressure goes up to help your body digest the food that you're consuming. So taking your blood pressure after dinner is going to show a slight rise in your blood pressure, and it's not necessarily going to be accurate to where you may be before dinner. So taking it during those times, first thing in the morning and right before dinner, it's going to be ideal to have a balance of what your baseline levels look like. Because if you take it 12 in the afternoon, it's going to be a lot higher than it typically would be. And having that baseline will help you, will let you know where you should, let you know where you're at. That way you can get better when it comes down to just documenting your journey and getting the results that you need. So hopefully I gave you a good explanation. So once in the morning, once before dinner, those are all great. That's probably one of the best things you can do when it comes to taking your blood pressure. What's the square footage of my house? I wish I knew. I don't know exactly, but I rent. I don't know. Here we go. Thank you. I appreciate you guys that do tune in and watch my videos. I just try to provide great information for anybody that is dealing with these types of problems, because again, I know what it's like to be dealing with blood pressure issues and blood sugar issues. I struggled with this from being 27 all the way till I was about 29, 30 years old. So understanding that these are some issues that you want to get ahead of. And me personally, I think the best thing was this little girl right here that was holding me. during this time in my life, I was really depressed and dealing with a lot of issues, health issues, relationship issues, work issues. I was overworked, underpaid, stressed out, traveling a lot, doing a lot of things. And with the health issues started to come about, when it came about, I knew something needed to change. And being on the beach, you can see I'm highly uncomfortable. I got a hat on, I got all my clothes on, and I have my shoes on as well. And I'm in the middle of the sand in Miami on the beach with all these clothes on. I was just highly uncomfortable. But a stranger saw me and my family just running around and was like, "Hey, I could take a picture for you." And I was like, "Yeah, cool, take a picture." He took this picture, and when I looked at that picture, I was like, "Damn, something got to change. I don't like it." I was already feeling bad, looking bad, had bad news from the doctor, but I knew something needed to change. And part of my journey was me framing this picture and keeping it where I can see it every day. And every day when I got up, I was like, I got to change, not just for myself, but for these children. I got 6 children. I knew I needed to change for not for myself, but for my children. I wanted to be there for them. I don't want to go down this path of just taking medication, because my grandmother, my aunts, and my uncles, all of them took medication for these same type of problems. My grandmother ended up having a stroke and dying in the hospital from the same issues she had 20, 30 years. She's taken 7 different medications with none of them solving the problem. So seeing that really made me dive into understanding more about what I can do for myself. And this what led me into the field of lifestyle medicine and understanding what was causing the problem. And this is where I learned that it's self-inflicted for the majority of individuals. My job, what I was eating, my stress levels, my poor relationships, my poor dietary habits, my drinking habits, all those things was causing this problem. And as I started to understand the psychology behind lifestyle changes, I just started implementing these things. I went to all these courses, all these different webinars, took all these health classes. I went to all these different coaching, training, and certifications to learn what these coaches learn and what these doctors know when it comes down to this. And this is where I learned how to put these strategies together to get these type of results. And over the course of 8 months of doing these things, I went from being 248 pounds with these blood pressure issues, 145/93, all the way to down to, my lowest was 168 pounds. My blood pressure was in the 110s, and it's been that way ever since. My weight has went up a little bit. I think I'm like 175, 180, give or take here and there right now. But this is a drastic difference. Talking about an 80-pound weight swing in 8 months by just changing the way I was living. I wasn't a gym rat hanging in the gym. I don't even like the gym now. I don't have a whole lot of muscles. I'm not a gym rat. I do go for a jog every day now that I've been the healthiest form of myself. But understanding that this was just understanding my day-to-day habits and figuring out what I need to do. And this is where these challenges I've been putting together come from. We're helping individuals understand what their options are, understand how to apply them to their lifestyle, and gradually progress to getting better to help them get to the root cause of their blood pressure issues, their blood sugar issues. And it all starts with your lifestyle. So this is where this whole process comes from. So I kind of been just rumbling on a little bit as well. Any other questions, feel free to drop them in the chat. I see a few more here, but we went a little bit over time, but we've also finished up the 7-Day Healing Fast ebook. So we finished the ebook. We did it in 2 days. Typically it usually takes 3, but we got it done in 2 days this time. But again, I'm gonna review these strategies real quick for you guys. That way you can tie it all in together as you move forward. So understanding your fasting options. You have 4 options. Number 1, a simple 12-hour fast. This is for any and everybody. It goes for your kids, it goes for your grandma, it goes for if you're on medication, not on a medication, if you're overweight, not overweight, it goes for everybody. I personally believe that everyone should be doing at least a 12-hour fast daily. This brings balance to your body, it brings balance to your system. 12 hours of eating, 12 hours of fasting. 12 hours to nourish your body and do what it needs to do to heal itself. 12 hours to cleanse your body, to get rid of everything that's left over after that whole process. When you bring that balance, you bring correction, and this allows for your body to do what it needs to do on both sides. Now, for the individual that needs to heal and cleanse and trying to make some changes, this moves us to the next fasting strategy, which is the intermittent fasting, a 16-8. 16 hours of fasting, 8 hours of eating. A 16-hour window allows for your body to cleanse and do the things that it needs to do a lot longer. And that 8 hours of eating is where you nourish your body and give the things that it needs to thrive. Understanding that when you're fasting, what you're consuming when you break your fast is just as important as the fast itself. You cannot fast and expect to eat whatever you want and get and maintain your results. The only way to maintain the results after fasting is eating a health promoting diet. And that health promoting diet, if you're dealing with blood pressure issues, that pours back into the last strategies from the last 2 sessions. Session number 1, the 7-day fruit and salad challenge. 3 to 5 servings of fresh fruits and vegetables, 1 large salad with no salt, no oil, no sugar. That means no store-bought dressings, making your own salad dressing from scratch that doesn't have those other components that can contribute to the problem. Strategy number 2, eliminating the problematic foods. That goes back to the pressure purge challenge. Eliminating the coffee, the salts, the oils, the sugars, the caffeine, the alcohol, the sports drinks, all those added or processed foods. Eliminating those problematic foods that contribute to blood pressure issues through many different pathways allows for you to shut down those pathways and open up the pathways for healing and cleansing. So strategy number 1, 3 to 5 servings of fresh fruits and vegetables, 1 large salad. Strategy number 2, eliminating those problematic foods from the diet. Strategy number 3, intermittent fasting. That way you can allow the cleansing and healing process to accelerate. When it comes down to the next fasting strategy, alternate day fasting. Eat one day, fast the next day. Eat the following day, fast the next day. This is for someone that has a lot better health, that can manage that don't have multiple issues or not on multiple medications for their blood pressure. Alternate day fasting allows for you to open up that fasting window to, instead of 16 hours, to about 36 hours. And that's going to give you a lot more healing when it comes down to the ketosis, autolysis, autophagy, all those other mechanisms that are taking place. Alternate day fasting, I did it for 15 days, lost 17 pounds, haven't looked back since doing that. One of the best fasting strategies I did, and it really helped me get over a hump on my health journey. So alternate day fasting is another strategy. And the last strategy is water only fasting, which I definitely recommend for the individuals that is doing this. They understand the process. They checked in with their doctor to make sure that they don't have those blood sugar issues or any underlying conditions that may interfere with this process. But a water only fast can start with just a simple 72-hour fast. Friday, Saturday, Sunday, since you're behind at home, rest your nerves, do some digital detoxing, clean up your phone, clean up your closet, but don't have any major responsibilities or things that you need to focus on. Focus on yourself at this moment and relax and allow for your body to do what you need to do. Applying this fasting strategy once per month will allow for you to get 3 times the healing as what will happen when it comes to those other strategies. Once a month through a period of time for 3 days, this will allow for you to just continue to build yourself up and get better through the process. But the most important thing is to continue living in a health promoting way. And it falls into 6 keys. I like to talk about 6 keys of the kingdom. Number 1, fasting. Number 2, your nutrition, understanding the foods that are coming in and make sure they support your journey when it comes to your blood. And eliminate those processed foods. Number 3 is going to be managing your stress levels, getting better control of your stress and making sure that you're practicing stress management techniques. Number 4, move your body, exercise, create some movement for yourself. Doesn't matter if you're walking every day or it doesn't matter if you're going to the gym, find a way to move your body. Even if you're doing some chair aerobics at home, move your body, build yourself back up, and that way you can get those results through that different pathway. Number 5, make sure that you're sleeping correctly, improving the quality of your sleep, setting yourself a bedtime and being consistent through this pathway, because again, sleep is one of the biggest triggers that contributes to high blood pressure, and that's another challenge that we're going to get into. And the last but not least, number 6, the quality of your relationships. This is one of the most underrated factors when it comes down to your overall health and your blood pressure. Your relationships, whether they're good, bad, or non-existent, have a direct impact on your quality of life. Not just with the quality of the life you're living, but the quantity of the years that you get to live. And we're going to get into that a whole lot deeper in our upcoming challenges, but understanding that these are all critical areas that need to be focused on and a strategy needs to be implemented if you expect to get to the root cause of your blood pressure issues. So this pretty much wraps up our Healing Fast live sessions. And it's going to open the door for our next challenge, which is going to be the Fit for Life challenge, where we're going to be talking about how to create more movement for yourself, no matter your age, your overall health condition, and what exercises impacts the body the most when it comes down to correcting blood pressure issues. We're going to talk about aerobics, we're going to talk about resistance training, and we're going to also talk about stretching, because these are all key areas. Me personally, stretching is by far one of my favorite, because not only does it stretches your muscles out, but it stretches those stiff arteries and those stiff blood vessels that we were talking about. It stretches them out and loosens them back up, where they become nice and elastic all over again, helping that blood flow. So we're going to get into the Healing Fast challenge next week, but most importantly, it's all about being consistent. And I've gone through these 6-week challenges to help individuals understand how to level up and get better. So with that being said, peace and blessings for everyone that showed up for the Healing Fast challenge. This wraps up the session, and continue to drop your information inside of the live group. That way you can just be accountable for the things that you're doing. So thank you all for dropping in, and I'll catch you guys next time.